Hello and welcome back to Cycle Fab. I'm Larry. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to properly ground your powder coating system. Now, I probably should have shown this video first at the beginning of the powder coating series that I'm doing, but I neglected to do that. So right here at the end of it, I want to show you how to ground it. This is the most important thing about a powder coat system is a good ground. The reason why is if you do not have a good ground, you will not have a good powder coating experience. There's only a few things that you need in order to do this. I'll go over with the parts that you'll need first. You can pick these up at any of your local hardware stores, Lowe's, Home Depot. Now, the cost of these items are not much at all. First thing you'll need is the grounding rod itself. That's a 5/8 inch diameter, 8 foot long, copper plated steel rod. You're going to have to drive this into the ground, and I'll get with you in a moment on that and how to do it. The next thing you need is a clamp. Now, this is just a simple 5/8 inch clamp with a big screw on it. This is to connect your wire. Now, the wire you're going to need is 10 gauge multi-strand. You don't have to use multi-strand. I do suggest that you do use 10 gauge or larger. You really don't need anything larger, but this is what I like. It's not too big, it's not too small, it will suffice. And make sure that it has insulation around it so it doesn't corrode. You got to realize most of this will be outside and it will corrode in the weather, so you don't want that. Make sure it has insulation around it. Now, another item you'll need, alligator clamp. You'll just need one. And make sure that it's big enough that it has a very stiff spring in it. Now, you don't need to get a big, massive one. That's not necessary. This is sufficient. You go with the smaller ones, they have a tendency to fall off the hook you connect it to. And that's what this goes to, by the way, is the copper hook that you hang your part from that you're going to be powder coating. Now, I make my hooks out of heavy gauge copper wire. Aluminum would work, but copper is always the best way to go when you're trying to get a good connection. Something else you'll need, obviously, are wire strippers, wire cutters. Now, the tool that you'll need to insert this big bad boy into the ground is a sledgehammer. Now, this is my little 5-pound sledgehammer. Hopefully, this is all that I will need. I do have an 8-pounder. I hope I don't have to use it. I don't like swinging it, it's heavy, but hopefully this will suffice. Now, let me talk to you about the ground that you're going to be driving this rod into. You don't have any choice about where your shop or house sits that you're going to put this ground rod into the ground. In other words, you don't have the choice of soils. What's there is there. The best soil is a heavy clay soil. Or if you just have big pockets of clay, that is the best earth ground material that you can drive this rod into. The reason why is because it's extremely dense. If you don't have clay, that's fine. Other soils will suffice. I'm just saying that clay is the best. So if you happen to know where there's a big clay pocket in the ground, that's where you want to drive your rod. Also, you want to place this rod as close to your powder coating system as possible. Mine's going to be about 8 feet away, so that's plenty close enough. Now, let's go ahead and go outside, and I want to drive this rod into the ground. Hopefully it won't take very long, and show you how I connect the wire to it. And there is something else. You don't have to use this. These are just very small little plastic clamps to hold your wire onto your building or onto your ceiling if you're going to string it across your ceiling, as I am in this shop. You don't have to use them, but it just kind of keeps things nice and neat and keeps the wire where it's supposed to be and not in your way and hanging down. So let's move outside and do some manual labor. What I neglected to tell you earlier in the video is that powder coat units come with a ground wire already connected to them. And that ground wire goes into the ground wire that's inside of your electrical outlet. In real world scenarios, that ground that is wired into your electrical outlet isn't always grounded. That depends on who built the house and the electrician and if they even connected it. So this is why I always use a ground rod, and it being just dedicated to my powder coating system and being just a few feet away from it, I'm going to get a better ground with the rod versus going through the entire building and its grounding system that is supposedly connected. I want to go ahead and drive this in the ground and you guys enjoy. Something else too, if you know you're going to be doing this and you have a little time to plan ahead, I would suggest that you water down the ground a couple of days, maybe even 3 days before you try to drive this in. Sometimes these can be a real booger. Now, we've had a lot of rain this month, so I'm not really worried about the ground being too hard. I know this ground pretty well, and with the amount of rain that we've had, that's as soft as it's going to get. So sit back and enjoy watching me drive this long rod in. Got her done. Okay, it's a real pain to do this, but it's very well worth it. Okay, now we got the hard part done. All we have to do now is connect our wire that's running from the inside of the shop, outside, to our rod. And this is like the easiest part. What you want to do is take your wire and strip the shielding back about 3/4 to 1 inch. Then take your 5/8 inch clamp and just run it right down over the top of this. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can put this on the screw side or the other side. I choose to put it on the opposite side of the screw because when you screw that screw onto this, it's going to flare out and you'll have a lot of strands that don't contact the grounding rod. So going on the back side of it, there's a little V-notch cut into it that'll press this right into the grounding rod. And you want your wire pointed down. You don't want it pointed up. And it's just a 1/2 inch nut, so just take your ratchet and get it as tight as you possibly can. Okay, there you go. And you can come back and put a safety cap over this so you can see it, so you don't trip over it. Or you definitely don't want to mow over it. This will kill a lawnmower. That is a steel rod. So go ahead and get it fastened to the building. One thing that I definitely do is solder my ground wire to my alligator clamp. I just want to make sure that I have the best possible ground that I can get. Now my ground wire I leave nicely rolled up and just hanging from my air system over in the corner of the shop. So when I need to use it, I just unwind it, connect it up, and I'm ready to go. The first thing in getting a good powder coat job done is having a good ground. I hope that you guys got something out of this video, and I hope it helps you out a lot. So if you've liked this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.